I want to first welcome everybody to this event, and I want to introduce our host, who is Lori Caruso.
I'm Lori Caruso. I am from the Rockaway office, and Rob asked me to speak to all of you today about some of my experiences and my success with farming. So I think, Rob, can you hear me?
You're muted, Rob.
Yeah, Rob.
I can hear you. I'm going to dial in now. Okay.
Go ahead, go. Now you're good.
I'm going to dial in just to be safe.
You're in. You're good.
Okay. So, Robert, can you hear me well?
Yes.
All right. Let's hope this holds up. So, you know, Lori is one of those people that I've come to know, and I've come to respect the way she does her business. She's been with REMAX for about 22 years, and with our company via our predecessor for almost 17 years. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. But if you can mute everybody else, Rob.
Yeah, people are talking.
Okay. So, Lori, if you want to unmute yourself, is this better, Robert? Thumbs up?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's fine.
Okay. So Lori's been with REMAX for 22 years, been with our company for almost 17. And she's been somebody that's been amazing to watch.
No.
All right, I've muted everybody.
People got to mute themselves. Everybody's got to mute themselves.
All right. So I've known her for probably 17 years when she first came on. I've known of her before then, and I've learned to admire the way that she does her business and the commitment and tenacity to get the job done. And when you talk about, you know, some people, they do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this. You know, when I met Lori, she explained to me how she entered her farm and what her strategy was. And it was like none that I've ever heard of. And, you know, she came from the mainline Pennsylvania area outside of Philly and relocated herself here and decided that she wanted to create a market share for herself. And, you know, I'm going to turn it over to you, Lori, to just describe when you came here knowing absolutely nobody, what your plan was and how you decided to execute it, and perhaps even share what vulnerability and risk you took on to get started. And you have to unmute yourself because you were muted with everybody else.
Okay, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, good. Yeah, so like Rob said, I relocated here to North Jersey. I had never lived in New Jersey before, so I had no business. I was a realtor, but I was not a realtor to the degree that I am now. I was really just getting into the business, and I was getting out of the food business and starting something new here with my real estate career. So I didn't know anyone, and I didn't have any referral business, and I didn't really know what to do to start. But I did know that I didn't want to be scattered. I kind of wanted to focus and try to create something that was more systematic than not. And follow, you know, give myself some rules to follow and a system and a structure. So I felt that that was the only way. So obviously, you know, things like cold calling came into play, and things that you do that you might not want to do. But I decided that what I really wanted to do was to create an area in which I was known to be an expert in, or at least perceived to be an expert in, as I became the expert in the area. So no one really had to know that I wasn't an expert yet, but you know, as time went on, I wanted to become that expert, and the only way to do that would be to jump into it, learning everything I could about it. So I decided to do something that is very old-fashioned in the real estate business, and it's farming. And you know what that means. It means that you plant seeds and you take care of them, and you reap the benefits of the seeds that you sow. But you really need to take care of it. So I decided to start with an area that was near where I lived. And I felt that that was going to be manageable for me because I could be actually in existence and around this area physically. So I got an area of 417 homes, which in my opinion is a manageable area, a manageable number. And the reason I say manageable is because if you decide to do something like this and you pick an area, or you think that you can manage something that is thousands of homes or thousands of condos or whatever it may be, you're not going to succeed. And the reason is because you can't manage something that large. Okay. So I felt that this was a manageable number. And what I decided to do was I decided to start sending out things in the mail. Okay. Really and truly, things that probably you all do, just listed, just sold cards. But then I decided to also do other things that had to do with letters and notices and information. And I would go to the mortgage guys that I worked with, and I would ask them for information on market share and interest rates and all kinds of things, stuff to report to people. Now, this cost money. All right. So I decided to take money and put it into this and put it into, therefore, my business. This is not, something that you could just skirt by and, a one and done. You actually have to take money and take time, create this information, and get it in front of these people in your farm so that they have something to see, to read, and to be interested in when they go to the mailbox. Now, this sounds very primitive and weird and, like who would want to do this? But the fact is that on a continuum, if you offer somebody information like this, and you follow up with this, they are interested. They are interested in what's in their mailbox, and they're interested in what it is that you have to say about their neighborhood and their home and this economy and, things that have to do with that. So
Lori,
yeah.
Is my recollection correct? Like when you started, you had decided that you weren't going to be like everybody else farm mailing, that you were going to, instead of sending it once a month or 10 times a year, you're going to send it twice a month so that you would intimidate everybody 3 times a month. So you'd intimidate anybody else from entering your farm. And that left an impression on me because you were like, nobody's going to compete with 3 times a month with good content. So people are going to choose to farm elsewhere. Is that accurate?
It is. It's accurate. And it goes back to the fact that, I didn't have anything that, to speak of. So I needed to, continually pay attention to this. And 3 times a month, something, without being annoying to people, was the way to go. And again, that costs time and money. But here this stuff appears in the mailbox and people can't help but see it, read it, and even respond to it in some way, shape, or form, because everybody wants to talk about themselves and their house. So yes, it was about 3 times a month, and it continues to be between 2 and 3 times a month all these years later.
That was a very deliberate strategic attack to let everybody know that this is not the place to farm. And you left an impression on me probably 10 years ago when you shared that story, and it lasts to this day. And you also picked an area where you felt that the
Rob, you're frozen.
the home sales would have. Hello? All right.
Go ahead. You also picked an area what?
Can you hear me now?
Now
Yeah.
I can. Go back to,
Okay.
you also picked an area?
You picked an area where the homes were newer, where they had public utilities. You were very strategic when you shared the story with me the first time, because you knew homes with wells and septics and older homes would have more issues selling, and they might even be at lower prices. So you were very deliberate in the area you picked, not only because you live there. Is that true?
It is true. And we want listings everywhere, and we want to help every seller with any kind of house, for sure. But in this case, I wanted the path of least resistance to get the most bang for what it is that I was doing. And I felt that the public utilities and the newness of the homes and the manageability of the number there would be a formula for manageable success. If I continue to touch these people and continue to let them know that I was there and that I had content for them and that I had something to say and that I had an ear to listen to what they had to say. Because the minute you think that nobody needs you is when really they really do need you. Circumstances change so quickly. So even new construction, people turn around and move right away because of job transfers and things like that. So it was important to make sure that they were touched and hit so often, and that the area was an area that I knew was saleable, could turn over easily, could get through home inspections fairly easily, and that would be desirable to buyers coming in from different areas, including relocation people.
So it wasn't just happenstance how you selected your farm. And then how long ago was it before you decided to expand and maybe adopt a second farm?
It was about like 5 years after that, I started with, a second one. Again, manageability and all the same kind of criteria. But the worst thing that you can do is to think or try to start something like this and not do it full blown. So if you start something like this or think that you're starting something like this and you want to expand and then you do it marginally, you will be wasting your time and your money rather than getting anywhere with it. So I knew that it had to be a time that I had the money and the time to do it in the same way. Otherwise, it would be diminishing returns, if not no returns.
And how certain were you that if you kept to the plan that it would work?
100%, because nobody else was doing it to this degree. And because I sprinkled it in with other things that I was doing besides just mailing. I was doing events, and I do events, and I send out little gifts and door knock and things like that. So together, collectively speaking, it was no way that it could fail by default, because of the fact that I was actually ingraining myself into these people's homes and lives.
How long did it take you before you got your first listing is one of the questions.
Well, it's interesting because I started this when the builder was still there. So the builder left in 2006, and then I started to get my first listing on resale, because sure enough, as quickly as people build new construction, that's as quickly as they leave. And oh, they're never going to leave, never going to leave, never going to leave, people told me. But you know what? Immediately, they did. And I had the first listing resale in the neighborhood, to the first listing on record ever, in 2006. And then it started from there.
Lori, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Rob, if you don't mind. I'm just curious at this point, do you have an idea of how many homes you've listed and sold in this farm area?
365 out of the 417.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
And one of the things, you once told me a story when I was managing the Rockaway office that dealt with the promotion you do at the end of the year with calendars and the cost that's involved in those and what that translates to.
Yeah, so Rob and I were talking about investment and whatnot. Part of this is, you know, calendars. People like calendars, and it sounds silly, but I make a pretty big investment into these giant calendars that go on refrigerators, not the little ones, the big ones. I have, you know, most of these people are calling me ahead of time to make sure that I'm, you know, really sending them out. It's like an $8,000 investment. And it is something that puts me in front of them all year long. Now, if you go in people's homes, you'll see realtors that have sent out little calendars and that they slap them on the refrigerator. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, you know, these big presence calendars that, you know, people can actually write their stuff in. And again, it sounds primitive, but this is something that they look forward to at Christmas time for the new year. And it puts you front and center in front of them. It's just a big investment, and it's expensive. And for me, it's worth every penny, because of the fact that that's something that people look forward to, despite the fact that you might think that nobody uses them or nobody cares, or that they have these little ones from everybody else.
Lori, what kind of events do you do in your farm area to attract your clients?
Yeah, so I do events that I created like 4 times a year. One of them is, you know, get to know your neighbor, in which there's, you know, food and different kinds of raffles and things like that. And we have international foods that I have brought in, and it's in the fall, like September. And, you know, everybody comes out and they get to win chances for things. I have a band, international foods, and things like that. And then the holidays, you know, I do an Easter parade, things like that. The kids with the decorating their bike, movies in the park, things that bring people together, things that I couldn't do during COVID, but before and after, been able to continue events like that. And if you think people don't like to do them, you're wrong. They do. And when I talk about raffles, I talk, you know, serious raffles, you know, serious, you know, high-end things that they can win. Now, you understand, you have to watch how you do this, because it can't be a raffle for service. It's just a raffle, and they get to win things. And it's just me that I'm paying for everything in the background, and I'm there talking to everybody.
So these are outdoor events that you're doing then?
Yes, outdoor events. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep.
Lori, there's a question in the chat that's interesting. Was there an agent that was your biggest competition for the area you selected, and how did you deal with this?
There's never been an agent that was, and I think that it has to do with the fact that nobody got into the repetition or to the consistency with what it is that I did, because again, it takes a lot of time and money to do that, and commitment. and you have to assume that you're going to be successful. So over all the years, when I sold to date that I've sold the 365 of them, there has not been one agent that has listed or sold more than one here or there.
So it takes money to make money. That's the bottom line.
It does.
Invest in your business. That's pretty much what it is.
Exactly.
I have
So-
a question for you as well.
Yes.
Your events that you did, fall and spring, was that at your home or where did you do them?
No, it was in the neighborhood. There is, in some common areas. We also, one of the things I also hosted was like a clean up the neighborhood day. So around the neighborhood, the bike
So what, on a
parade,
street? You mean on a street or a park, or where
Yeah.
did you host it?
common area. There's a common area in this particular neighborhood where there's a park.
Okay.
There's also a giant parking lot area with tennis courts and all that other stuff. So was able to, I do things there.
So you set up a kiosk with the REMAX balloon. Did you do all that?
Oh yeah, the whole thing like that. And I actually invited other neighbors even who had businesses, non-real estate businesses, if they wanted to become part of this and get there and pass out their business cards and, make it more of a community happenstance.
Did you need permits to do all this stuff? that you were
No,
talking-
I invited the police and the administrator of the school, the public school, admin, gave the kids rides in the cop cars, things like that.
Hey, Lori, can I ask you a couple questions? Hi, how are you?
Yes,
Thank you
very
so much
good.
for doing this. It's so funny because your story is exactly my story right now. I did real estate in Chicago for 20 years. And so now I've been living in Florida for 6. And so I'm getting ready to jump back in.
Nice.
And there is a realtor actually in my neighborhood who doesn't do the mailings that you're talking about, but she does all the events. She does Easter Bunny. My kids have been to the Easter Bunny event, the Santa Claus, the parade with Santa Claus. She's
Yep.
had, I mean, if you guys want me to list some of the things she's done, she truly is amazing, but that's who I'm up against. You know what I mean? So that was me who asked that question about how do you deal with the competition in your area? Because she is, I mean, everybody knows her. She bought here when the community was first built, so she knows everybody. I gotta say, I used her on a referral for my own brother, and there was a couple things that I would have done differently. That so now those things I know, like I know what I need to tweak and what I need to do to kind of stand out. So I guess I'm kind of answering my own question, but at the same time, it's a little intimidating. I'm not gonna lie. So what would you
Yes.
do differently?
In your situation,
Yeah,
that's going to be hard to penetrate if she's still going full steam.
yeah,
I will tell you that, because I feel like I feel like nobody really wants to deal with what I'm doing here.
mhm,
And I think that the people who live here don't want to deal with anyone else because they find this comfort in me. I have to say, they call me to talk, even if they're not selling.
right,
When I'm outside, they grab me. They need to confess everything to me, and they need to hold on to me about the things that are happening in their lives and world. And so it's more of a relationship. I know I have all their phone numbers. I have all their email addresses. It's a hard relationship to penetrate after all these years, and they know I'm always here. So
Okay.
that's probably the same thing that you're dealing with her.
I mean, Lori, wouldn't it make sense maybe even to look at other areas where maybe there isn't somebody and then evaluate, which one you feel that you want to make that commitment to, because I think one of the biggest problems is if you go in without certainty, because if you recall, when I asked Lori, how certain were you that it was going to work? There was no doubt in Lori's mind that this was going to happen. Like, she saw it in advance. She knew it was going to happen if she stayed true to the plan. There was no other option.
No.
So Carmen, maybe your decision might be, you might want to, consider maybe other neighboring areas.
Yeah, I agree with Rob. Yeah, Carmen, you probably need to find another area. Rob, you're breaking up, my friend.
Lori,
Yes,
as I understand, when you started farming this area, you didn't live there.
I did.
Oh, you did live there.
I did.
Okay.
Yes. So, Rob,
Rob, you're breaking up.
Rob, your phone's crapping out. Well, I'm big at farm areas, and that's how I made a lot of my money, is working the farm areas. But when you're competing with someone like Victoria, that's
Lori.
time.
Maybe
Lori.
even, talk to somebody locally.
Or okay, there we go.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know it says Victoria. For some reason, I'm on my daughter's screen, but I'm Lori Caruso.
Okay, Lori. But basically what happened with me is I had to move because I was competing with one of the top agents in the Jacaranda area. And I spent a lot of money to try to overcome, what Lori is doing. And it just didn't work. So I had to find another area where I could dominate. And I did. And once I started doing that, I started building into that farm area, made it bigger and bigger. But I did a lot of stuff that Lori did. I didn't go to the extent of holding events, which I think is awesome. And I tell the agents that I work with that they should set up a kiosk and do some of these events, because that will attract business for you. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. It's great, Lori.
Rob,
Ron,
Rob,
can you
are
hear
you
me
there?
now better? Can you hear me
Okay,
better
yeah.
now?
That's better. Yeah. Rob, did you want me to talk about the money investment and return?
Yes, I'm going to ask you to do that in 1 second, but what I'm going to do is I want to just make an announcement now that we're at the halfway point here. Is I'm going to be hosting, Lori is our inaugural peer-to-peer learning host here. And on Mondays at 9:30 to 10:30, just the same time slot as our Friday masterminds, I'm going to invite some of our great exceptional agents and team leaders to share with you the things that they've done that have worked, some of the mistakes that they made, so that we can all benefit from our culture of collaboration. And, I really have to tell you that, more so than what Lori is doing business-wise, I have a tremendous amount of, respect for her character, the way she does business, some of the things that she's accomplished. And for just giving you context, Lori also does business in Morris County. And if you're not from the area, you do business in Long Beach Island, 2 hours away.
Yes.
And we had actually gotten a random lead through our Zillow. And they decided that they were looking to buy up in the area that we service, but they said they wanted to consider selling a house right outside of Long Beach Island. And I called up Lori and I said, Lori, would you go down there and entertain this? And can you just give us like a 1 minute synopsis of how that experience went and what your commitment was?
Oh, yeah. So it was on the mainland before you would cross over to the Causeway Bridge to get onto the island itself. So it was still considered the vicinity. So I had gone there and the mainland was flooded. So I couldn't get to the house. Okay. So, but I had to get to the house because I needed to get there. Nothing really stops me from getting to listings. So I parked my car where I could. The streets were completely flooded. I got my briefcase, put it over my shoulder, and I took off my shoes, rolled up my pants, and I wear a suit all the time. So I had on a suit, right, Robert Garver, you know that. And
Absolutely.
I rolled up my suit slacks up to my knees and took off my shoes, and I put my shoes over my shoulder like I was, you know, out all night. And I walked through the water to the house. The problem is that I didn't realize that this water is so disgusting. It's not just from the rain and from the flooding. It's like the storm drains and the sewers is so disgusting. So I didn't think about that till I got there. But on my way through the sewage, a big giant truck came with giant monster mutter wheels, and he stopped and he said, okay, I need to ask, and are you okay? And there was no one around. And I said, yeah, I'm fine. And he said, well, it's not every day that you see a woman in a suit with a snakeskin briefcase over her shoulder and rolled up slacks walking through sewage. And so I said, well, I need to get to a listing. And he said, why don't you get in the car? And so I asked him if he was going to kill me. And he said, no, I'm not going to kill you or murder you or anything like that. And I said, okay, well, then I'll get in your car. I got in his truck. He drove me through the sewage to the house, which actually happened to be 2 doors down from his house. And the bottom line is that I quickly dried myself off, did the listing appointment, found out that this guy not only did not murder me, but he also has a house up here in Morris County that he wants me to come and look at and sell. So it was a whole big successful day walking through the sewage to get to the listing.
But how many people would have said, oh, you know what, let me reschedule. I drove down 2 hours and I'll have to do it another time. That
Yeah,
was
no,
just an
not
amazing
me.
story.
I got to get in and get out, and you got to make the most of the time while you're there.
So that is a true story. I know that firsthand. And this is why Lori is the top individual agent in our Rockaway office for 2022. You're the top 5 in both New Jersey and Florida for individual agents. You are top 10 amongst 3,000 agents in New Jersey, individual agents. You're the #1 agent in Jefferson based on volume and units for listings and sales combined. You're probably top 15 individual agent in the entire MLS, which is probably 20,000. And you are a inspiration for me and somebody that is incredible the way that you do your business and that you share with others. So that is who Lori Caruso is. And by the way, if anybody in New Jersey or Florida has anybody that is thinking of selling their second home or their home in the Long Beach Island vicinity, there is nobody better than Lori Caruso to call, in my humble opinion. So I had to put that out there, Lori, because that is an exceptional story. There are very few people that would do that. And that was, just amazing. So
Thank you.
Just so if anybody was coming on or didn't hear me before, we're going to be doing these peer-to-peer learning sessions on Mondays between 9:30 and 10:30. Lori, you're going to be hard to top, but we'll try to introduce you to other people with different specialties and different things that they do great. I wanted to, and if you've already discussed this, I apologize because I did have some internet issues. We had actually gone out door knocking together, and that was an amazing experience. I'm actually going door knocking here in Florida right after this. But when I went there, it was like I was going with the mayor of the community, because there was probably not one person that didn't recognize you. Am I exaggerating?
Yeah, see, and that's what happens. You get you get intimate with these people. There's an intimate friendship relationship, and they get to know you. They know what you look like. They know what you've sent them. They know my car. They know my cars. And they, it's some warmth. So yes, they do, and I know them, and it's a nice feeling, because you really feel like, you're helping them and that they trust you.
And how often do you go in the field to go meet your team? Is that done once a year?
You mean the door knocking?
Door, like, I know you do a lot of the community events, but they probably don't attract everybody.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, the door knocking is probably only once or twice a year at the most. I do that, and I give out goodies, like little backpacks filled with goodies, and Rob, I gave them to you. You were handing them out, and people like that too. So once or twice a year.
So we have a question. What was your sales volume in 2022? Do you know offhand?
Gross commissions.
So
what
you know what the volume of homes that you sold was? I think I can look it up real quick if you don't know.
The volume?
Yeah.
28 million.
28 million, Mickey. So
there was also an earlier question, Rob. I'm sorry. Well, you were off. It had come up earlier, and they just want to know: is there a digital component to your farming?
There is not. I don't know if I'm embarrassed to say that or not, but there is not.
But it seems to be working! Exclamation point.
Exactly.
So that everybody has different ways that they do business. You probably are, the polar opposite of Mr. Baker in your office, who is very big on digital and video. And there's more than one way to be amazingly successful in a marketplace. So, you can't get hung up on, nobody can be Lori. Okay. You have to find your own authenticity and find what you're comfortable with. And that's what I think gives Lori the confidence to serve the people in her community. And I really do think that somebody talking to Lori is going to know that she virtually sold every house in the community. She provides value. It's not a transparent sales relationship. It's about a relationship, right? You don't only give the handouts to the people that you think are going to list their house or buy. You give it out to the entire community. And it was an amazing experience walking where everybody's like, oh yeah, I know who you are. I get your mailings, or I think one gentleman even said, I have more pictures of you than my girlfriend in my house.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's so many things, whether it's a sports schedule or whether it's a calendar or the pens or whatever the case may be, and it all sounds real silly, but you know what? After a while, he had more pictures of me in his house than he did of his girlfriend, and it was funny because. Well, at least I said to him, well, at least the pictures you have of me are the same picture. So at least your girlfriend knows I'm not another girlfriend.
So another question, what was your initial investment in farming back when you started?
Rob, I don't know. I don't know if I know that. I know what I did I know what happened this year.
I mean, was it similar in terms of frequency to what you're doing this year? Or were you doing
it was
less
similar
when you started?
Of course the frequency was and I think even the money was. I just don't, the return of investment now is just much higher
because it starts to build upon
because
itself.
it built so much. Yes.
And I'm going to say that what you're doing as opposed to people who are like investing in Zillow to buy leads or doing transactional business, like calling expireds, you are one of the few people that's building an annuity or a predictable stream of income into your business, right? And I think you shared with me that your investment was around 50,000 for this farm, about 4,000 a month. And if I calculate it correctly, you are slightly or maybe 10,000 over $250,000 of commission in that farm area. Does that sound right?
Yes, it does. It sounds right. The 50,000 sort of, basically translate it into 250
And,
in those commissions.
and between your two farms, would you say that was about 60% or 65% of your total income?
That farm, what we were just talking about, was 1/3.
1/3, and then the other farm was a little bit less. So you're probably half of your income is based on, you know, your branding in that market from the effort and the money you spend to be the go-to person.
Yes, it is.
Right. And as you can see, Lori also has a great personality, and you know, she does also is an expert at the subject matter. So you can't, you know, you can't avoid those things because you really do understand what's going on in that market, or even the other, you know, markets around. So if you're starting to do it, you know, don't give up after 6 months or a year, because you're just starting to have that branding and building your reputation. And if you're going to be in the business for 10+ years, this is an activity that you want to do, because if you just maintain it, right? Like once you get the farmland, you pull all the rocks out, you start planting the seeds. It's not as hard as year one when you reseed the farm, and then you get a more abundant return over time.
That's right.
And I think we had discussed that you're participating in more than half of the transaction sides in the entire farm. Is that correct?
Yes, more than half, so about 65%.
So at least 15% of them you do double end, and you know, you just dominate that whole area. So I say that so that people can believe what's possible, Lori, and to know what consistency does in your business plan. And I know you work really, really hard. Your example of walking through the storage just is it just demonstrates your commitment. But you know, it's definitely doable. You have to have the conviction. You have to put the time in. Maybe you can even talk a little bit about like what the creativity is. I don't know. Do you send pumpkin pie recipes and time to turn the clock back, or not really?
I mean, yes, okay, but I don't do just that, and I just don't do that every year. So I sprinkle things in, all right? So just listed, just sold, everybody wants to know about that. But then, you know, like I said, I get together with the mortgage guy and I get his information and whatnot. I talk to people about, should you sell now or should you hold? What about, when do you want to retire? When do you think you might want, you know, when do you think the kids are leaving? Information that maybe they're thinking about. Lists about things to do for your house if you're going to stay for the next 5 years, or if you might sell in the next 5 years. Where should you put money into your house, inside, outside, etc. Okay, not always telling, you know, assuming that they're going to sell, but kind of like giving them information about if they stay, and you know, it makes them feel that you really do have something to share with them. Stats about other communities around and how they're doing with values and whatnot. Certainly with COVID, like, what did this do to us? Should you get out now or should you stay? Is it time to put on a new roof? Like, you know, all kinds of things and stats and information that maybe, you know, doesn't just directly focus on, you know, I want your listing, I want your sale. Also to let them know that you are a buyer's specialist as well, because you would be surprised how many people that you think you're trying to help them sell their home. Maybe they want to buy an investment property, but they don't know that you could help them. Maybe, okay, they want to buy something for their kids in another area and they want to keep their home, but their kids need help or something of that nature. So you have to let them know that you are also, you know, able to help them with that. Estate planning. You're not a financial analyst or whatever, but you know, you need to let them know that you can direct them to different people and to different avenues if they have questions about what to do with how to title their current home, or whether it should go into a trust, things like that, that you have people and you have knowledge of how to direct them into things like this, all in the information that you're sending them, so that it's not just the same old, but that you're actually concerned, which I am, about them as neighbors and friends and potential, clients one day. And you also have to let them know that you are an expert at coordinating a buy and a sell, because a lot of them would like to move, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know how are they going to sell that house and buy something else, and how this coordination is going to take place, and how they're going to get approved to do both. And am I going to be homeless? They're just sitting there. They don't know what to do. And they might call another agent like out of the blue because they saw a house on Zillow, and, but no, you want them to know that you're attached to all of that and you can help them with all of that. This comes in the information that you're sending them.
And Lori, where do you order your postcards, and would you be kind enough to share that and maybe a couple of samples, like either on the screen or in description what you send? And then most importantly, you have to put your contact info into the type that into the chat window here, or I'll type that in for you, so that people can reach out to you with any referrals that they have, or maybe you'd even be kind enough to take a call if they have any questions.
Sure, of course. So if you go onto the hub, there are a lot of REMAX approved suppliers, but the one that I prefer is Express Docs, which starts with an X, Express Docs. You'll see it in the hub. I like their content, and a lot of it is customizable. Certainly, they do just listed and just sold postcards, okay? But that's the least of it. They have the ability to do flyers with different information and pictures that can be mailed in envelopes. All of it is REMAX approved. All of them have the disclaimers on the bottom that you need. They can.
Lori, do you use EDDM?
No.
How do you mail bulk?
We have a bulk permit for Rockaway, and the stuff gets addressed individually with the actual people's names into the farm, not just to our neighbor at, and it goes specific to the farm, to the annex, and goes out bulk that way. It's not an area that's taken. It's the actual farm addressed to specific people. That's another factor that I put in there, because it doesn't look like junk mail.
Lori, do you have exclusivity on that at all, or is that open to everyone to get?
It's open to anyone who wants to pay for a bulk permit stamp.
I think it's like $150 for this a year for the permit, something like that. Yeah, it's more personalized through bulk because you have their name on it.
Correct, and this is just how I do it. All right, you can certainly do EDDM where you pick an area and whatnot, but this is the way I do my farms.
So Lori, there's a question there also about what's the best way to farm without capital?
Okay, so the answer is there isn't one a best way. We are all in business for ourselves. This is an investment in ourselves. We don't work for the man. We work for ourselves. And so therefore, it's the same thing as if we were to buy a franchise or something of that nature.
Starting route to 14737 Morgan Close.
You have to
Proceed to Hagen
invest in yourself monetarily. I just came and went into my 401k and just went from there and just there was no other way. There was no other way. It was well worth it.
So I think it's pretty clear to everyone on here that I'm a fan for all the years that I've known you. And I think that what you just said is probably points out the key to your success is that your commitment level was such that you went into your 401k to get money to try and build your business. And I think that people have a tendency not to have that level of dedication, but that's really what it takes. And just to point out also that Lori is a sole practitioner. She doesn't have a team. She's doing this work all by herself. And that's the drive and the motivation that gets you to the level like she's at. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that I had to do it this way, and I knew that I had to replace that money, okay? Because we need to borrow from ourselves and we need to replace it. So that was the way. That was the only way. And, you know, again, you would not be able to get into business for yourself any other way without capital. You wouldn't be able to start a franchise. This is no different. The thing is that you will waste money, okay, if you do not do this on a consistent level. You will be throwing money away if you think that you can just shoot something out, spend some money and call it a day and wait for these listings to come to you. It's not going to happen. You can't wait around for buyers to come to you either. You have to focus on getting listings. So in order to do that, you have to do the consistent money and time into a system that will ultimately, you know, is going to bring you back the return. And then you replace that money and you start again and you keep it going. Because otherwise you will be wasting money if you try to do this on a 1 or 2 shot deal and think that it's just going to happen.
Or do you cold call in the area that you farm, or do you just mail?
I don't cold call anymore. I have all their numbers and whatnot. They call me a lot to talk and to tell me their problems or whatever, but I'm not cold calling. No, I did. All of that was part of the beginning.
Yeah.
Lori,
Yes.
listening to you, 2 things. 1, it sounds like you really love doing this. And 2, you're having fun while you're doing it, especially when you're doing your events. And I think that attributes to your success too. You really enjoy what you're doing. It's hard work, but I think you enjoy it so much.
I do, and I think I know why. The reason is because I've realized that these people need help and need information and need their problem solved and need direction. And I really feel like I'm helping them. Okay. Now in the process, obviously I'm earning a living, but they really are putting their trust into me to solve these problems, answer these questions, give them this direction, et cetera, et cetera. And so I feel really good about that. Although I don't have a team, I have a team of partners that I refer everybody to, whether it's moving companies or handymen, electricians, all these people that do really good work for me, that I put all these people in touch with, and they know that they can count on me. And so there's so much enjoyment that comes from that, that it goes in, it's just a circle of goodness that goes around, and I feel really good about that. I really do feel good about that. I get a lot of feedback at the end that they were really happy with how I handled their project, because it all ends up being a project.
Lori, are you concerned about like the changing market and, you know, cutting back a little bit for 2023, or are you staying the course? And how do you feel about, you know, sales in 2023 versus 2022 personally in your farm?
I think that this is when you have to work harder than ever. If I was going to ever pull back, it would have been in the last 2 years because the business was just being thrown at everybody. Markets like this, changing markets, are when you have to work harder, but I'll represent that people are going to move in every market. I'm going to be successful in every market. I'm staying the course. Regardless of, I think that gross commissions are going to be down this year for everybody. But I think that there's still going to be a need to move. There's still going to be people that have to still do what their life plan was, despite the interest rates, despite the changing market or whatever. And I'm going to be there. I'm going to be the one that is getting the listings, or is getting helping the people do it and move, because there are going to be a lot of people that are going to fall out and are going to, complain that, oh, it's bad now. Oh, it's over now. Well, no, it's not. You just have to stay the course and be there for everyone as they need you and as you can be of service to them.
I am thrilled that you gave us an hour, Lori, to share the formula for success. And I don't want to say it's a secret, but it's a formula. It does require work.
Yes.
And also, your attitude about when the market's starting to change, it's time to stay the course or even work harder is a message I think everybody should resonate with, whether you're farming or whatever way you're building your business, because we're in it for the long time. I've never thought about being not in the real estate business. I know you never thought about not contributing to your clients in your sphere. So it's a certainty that we're going to do business. It's not the time to cut back. It's the time to step up and work a little bit harder, in my opinion. And I think you share that same opinion.
Yes, all systems go, and understand that you can make it work in any market. You just have to be consistent, and you have to feel that you are adding the value to people and to what it is that they need you for, and that you're there, concentrating on the listings.
So for somebody who's been in the real estate business for almost 35 years, you are a standout in terms of the way that you operate, the certainty that you have, the commitment, the consistency to stay the course. And, I'm humbled and honored that you shared your time. And I think everybody should, keep Lori in mind, and also, give a big shout out to her for sharing this tremendous information. And maybe we can have you on for in 6 months or so, when people start to do it, and they can share their feedback, and you can, maybe guide them.
Love it. I would love that. I love talking about this, and I would love to speak to anyone who had any questions or wanted to chat.
That's amazing. I knew that's what you would say, but it's just amazing to see somebody so busy as you giving us an hour of your time freely to share with your peers what they can do to help grow their business. So
thank you. Happy to do so.
A big shout out to Miss Lori Caruso. Her contact info is there. Any referrals from Florida need to list their house in Morris County, there's one great agent. And anybody in the Long Beach Island market, oddly enough, you cannot find a better agent than Miss Lori Caruso in Rockaway, New Jersey.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob.
Right. Lori, a big thank you from Florida. We really appreciated you doing this. It was outstanding.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lori. Great job. Very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great, productive rest of your week. Bye-bye.